And when someone else instead of me always seems to know the way, then I look at you and the world's all right with me. I just one look at you and I know it's gonna be a lovely day.
Oh, welcome back. I'm Babz Rawls-Ivy. This is LoveBabz, LoveTalk. It's the second hour of LoveBabz, LoveTalk, the 10 o'clock hour. Thank you, Mercy Quay, for being my 9:30 guest. That was wonderful. I don't often do two guests back to back, but today I am because I'm feeling pretty happy. So let me read a few things before I introduce my next guest. And this is a press release I got from the New Haven Museum, which is one of the best press releases I had because it kind of tells a larger story of what we're going to talk about. And it starts with, by most accounts, by the spring of 2020, the COVID-19 pandemic was unraveling our collective sense of political, social, and economic normality. In March 2020, New Haven resident Roderick Topping began to casually document the new reality. His striking images will be on view in a new exhibit, Strange Times, Downtown New Haven in the COVID era at the New Haven Museum from October 13, 2021 through March 25th, 2022. Welcome, Roderick. How are you?
I'm great, thanks. How are you?
I'm good. I read the piece that Brian Slattery did on the photographs, and I got to see. I haven't been to the museum yet. Just got to make reservations. But I saw some of the pictures that Brian Slattery from the New Haven Independent posted, and I just thought they were beautiful and eerie and solemn and desolate and just wonderful. You captured this time beautifully.
Yeah. Thank you very much. I don't like to think of them as terribly dreary and formal and somber. I guess I need to deal with the fact that they kind of are. I mean, it's just that I didn't start this project with any great sort of huge purpose or anything. I was almost just doing it for myself, going around taking pictures and so I could remember especially in the early days of COVID. Of course, I'm sure you remember in March of 2020 when everybody just suddenly realized, oh my goodness, what are we dealing with? And then just shut themselves in, and we were all terrified that we're going to get it, and that it was sort of almost apocalyptic event. But that meant that the city was just empty, and I didn't really see any risk in going outdoors, and I did, and I found all kinds of things in the city that I kind of hadn't really noticed before in normal times when this on any given day the city's hustling and bustling with traffic.
But that's what I mean. You are a downtown kind of guy.
True. Yes.
Your whole time here in this city has been downtown, and downtown has a rhythm and a beat and a pulse that the rest of the city doesn't really have. Although New Haven is a bustling city.
Yeah.
But you're downtown, and downtown has a whole different vibe. And so COVID hit, and you're outside, and you're like, it's not bustling.
No, it's not bustling, and and like I said in my description, it was just kind of like, the kind of underlying skeleton of the city kind of opened up for us to see, sort of things that we just kind of take for granted when you're walking around and everything's going on. Like suddenly you're walking along and there's nobody there, and you're like, oh, I've never seen that building without a bunch of people in front of it and cars and stuff. Hi, Jason.
Yes, I was just going to say hi, Jason. Jason is the curator for Strange Time and the New Haven Museum director of Photo Archives. Jason Bischoff, Bischoff-Wurstle.
Bischoff-Wurstle.
Okay, Wurstle. And so let me jump to you real quick,
Sure.
Jason. So what was it about these photographs that you said, you know what, I want to curate this, and they have to be seen? Like, they have to be seen by the public, and people have to come see this. We're gonna put it in the museum.
I mean, the easiest answer to that is I really enjoy them, and Rod's a New Haven citizen, and yeah, so I've been enjoying them for some time. He's been posting them on social media. I've known Rod we probably first met 12 years ago, 13 years ago, what have you.
That sounds about right, yeah.
So it's kind of the circles through New Haven, and it's really just, yeah, I mean, basically, in a nutshell, it's kind of like, wow, this is great. And in my position at the museum of overseeing photo archives throughout the photographic history of New Haven, which basically dates back to about 1840s or so, I view Rod's work, I don't know if he necessarily views it that way. Maybe I've been pumping him up that way, as kind of integral to documenting where the city is right now. And I'm also really excited at the fact that, I mean, he's been documenting casually this city, the communities, etc., since the 1980s. So it's really exciting, and it's it's not what I wouldn't say, and I don't mean this as a slight in any way, shape, or form. It's not with a certain intent. It's not done with the intent of this is a specific photo shoot, or this is a specific event photo, or a portrait photo, or what have you. It's done really just out of his passion, his enjoyment, and that comes through. And so it's really often kind of rare to have that and have sort of the quality of it, and then also really just the timing as well. This moment, the moments we've been living through the last couple of years, are clearly extraordinary, and they're already fleeting. And something the last couple of years has taught me, and especially both in personal life and in working with history every day, all these little things just disappear really quickly. Like, if we sat and think like a year ago what was going on, it's totally different from now. Conversations, thoughts, concerns, what have you. I mean, there's longer threads, but Rod's there taking those pictures right now.
So
really
Rod, when you were out taking these pictures, like the very first pictures that you took, I mean, how many pictures did you take? And when did you know that you were on to something, or did you ever think you were on to anything?
Well, to answer your first question, how many pictures did I take? Well, if you count everything, my guess is that since the beginning of the pandemic, I've probably taken maybe 5,000 to 7,000.
Whoa!
But, yeah. But I gotta look at that. I may be wrong. That is really lots and lots of stuff that you wouldn't even give a second look to. I mean, I'm kind of, as a photographer, if I see something that even slightly interests me, I'll just take the picture because it doesn't matter. Who cares? And I've actually gotten lucky. I've taken pictures where I almost said, well, don't be ridiculous. Don't take that. It's dumb. And then get it home and look at it again, with a little bit of time. And I realized, oh, no, that is kind of interesting, or crop it in a particular way and be happy with the result. But yeah, no, I would say definitely in the thousands. Probably over 5,000 photos.
Now, did you find this? Okay, go ahead.
No, but like photos that were edited and usable and things that I thought were worth sharing with people, but that's in, maybe in the low hundreds.
So was this process, because everybody was looking for things to sort of make them feel connected in this pandemic time. Did taking these pictures, did going outside and being like one of the few people outside, taking these pictures feel cathartic? Did it feel mystical? Did you feel nervous or afraid? Like, what were you thinking when you were out there?
No, well, I mean, I honestly, when I first started, it was just some. I mean, I being stuck indoors and not really being able to socialize with people like I had in the past, and everything was put on hold. It kind of was necessary for me to just go outside and walk, even if I hadn't been taking pictures. If I'd never picked up a camera, I'm sure I would have been outside walking around. Because, I mean, I know that the risk of when you're outdoors, the risk of contracting COVID is a great deal less. And you just sort of take basic precautions to wear a mask and not get too close to people. But, taking pictures was just a great way for me to occupy myself. And I didn't really, when I started it, I didn't really think of it as any big deal, it wasn't until I had been posting a lot of this stuff on Instagram, and it wasn't until I got a few months into it that I was like, okay, this could definitely be a project.
Mm-hmm. And so when Jason sees these on Instagram and says, you know what, this ought to be curated and shown to other people. Was that your thinking, Jason?
Yeah, basically. And, all props goes to my wife, Alicia, who also kind of like supported and put this idea. We were both happening to look at it, and she's just like, yeah, I love Rod's photos. I'm like, yeah, so do I. I really liked them for so long. And she's just like, call him up. She's like, give him a call.
Thank God for a good wife.
Yeah, exactly. So, I was like, all right. I don't know why I'm not doing that. And that kind of just led to it. Rod and I just had a conversation, and, kind of just had a few more conversations and went from there. And, led up to this process, and then led to the process of kind of, as you mentioned, there's hundreds of photos, and whittling that down to, what's our final count? Like 36?
36.
Yeah. So whittling it down to 36, which was a process that even up until basically almost hanging them on the wall, we were like, okay, do we really want this one or do we want that one here? Which was fun, and it's also different from other processes of selecting and curating and what have you. It kept it kind of loose in that regard. And it also kept the sort of the themes fluid in a way, which was great.
So, Rob, when you were out there, every day that you go out there, were you excited? Were you stunned by what you found? Were you thinking, let me go see if I can find something? Or did you just sort of just walk and say, you know what, whatever happens, happens?
I would say the latter. I mean, I spent a good deal of time just walking and looking, and sometimes I would go out with kind of a purpose because I might have seen something the day before or the week before or something, and I was like, maybe I should go back and revisit that and see if maybe with a little bit of different light or something I can get a different or more interesting photograph. Particularly towards the later stages of the project, I was kind of revisiting things, but on the whole, I guess it was just walk out the door and see what happens.
Mm-hmm. So have you had a chance to sort of look at this time up against prior to, like what did the city look like prior to, and then this happened? Did you have a chance to go back and look at, like, I don't know, if you walk past a place pre-pandemic and then you walk past the place in the pandemic? We're not post-pandemic, but I mean, do you have some sense of commitment to that kind of look back, or or retrospect?
Well, yeah. I mean, so many of the things that I saw before the pandemic, and I probably took photographs of them. And I definitely had photographs in mind during the pandemic that thought I would go back and take another look at and photograph in this new reality where there's nobody on the streets and everything is super quiet and yeah. But generally speaking, I just kind of went out and looked for new things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think that.
Okay, go ahead, Jason. No, I was going to ask you what will these pictures tell us? What does these pictures tell us about this time? Because you keep up with the history of photographs, and you can look at a photograph and tell us. We can look at a photograph and say, well, this is what was happening in 1840 or 1850, and then you can put a story behind it, and we know something happened in 1860 or whatever it is.
Right.
I mean, will these photos do that for us?
I hope so. And that's kind of that is an intent with the show. And when you ask, like, is there a before and after or during? I mean, the incredible thing is we were putting this together, and I feel like that was really why it's important as well to document this time, because things are moving so fast, and they're moving fast due to the pandemic. They're moving fast due to, everything that's going on politically, socially. And, in looking at photos, we'd say, okay, here's September 2020. That store is gone now. That building was torn down already. That building is now completely renovated. It looked like it was going to get torn down. Things are changing so fast, and those are all those little subtle details that disappear in our heads, especially when you stop and think about restaurants. It's like, once in a while you're like, oh yeah, remember that bar we used to go to? I can't even remember what was that place. Like, I went there one time, blah, 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 and it was like 5 bars ago, And that happens normally, but it's happening at such a fast rate right now. And so it's really incredible as we're going through this, and you'll see it in the show. It's like, I'm like, even there's a picture on the green, and in the background you see the subway on the corner of Chapel and Temple. That's gone. I'm like, look, even the subway's gone now. All these things are changing, and so yes, it's these little details of just change, and that's super important in documenting history. And that's the stuff that, like, be it photos, be it journals, be it letters, what have you, in studying history and documenting it, that's the good stuff. That's those little details of life that, again, blur, but kind of give the insight, a deeper insight in context, basically, to a time. I mean, you can look in a book, you could follow a movie, whatever, and it covers the big event, but it's that context. And these photos really help capture the context of the last 2 years in particular. And I wouldn't say point a direction, but at least maybe show a mirror almost back to what's going on right now, to some degree.
So, Rod, some of these photos are in black and white. And
most of them are actually.
Most of them are in black and white.
Yeah.
So what was the thinking behind that?
Well, black and white has pretty much been all. I mean, I learned photography in black and white when I was in high school, and I had access to a dark room. I mean, all we did was black and white, and I didn't have the money or the equipment or anything like that to do my own color. I mean, if I shot color, it meant that I basically had to go down to the photomat. If you remember photomats.
I do. Because there were a couple of really big ones. There was one downtown. I mean, there was a couple of them around. Yeah.
And so I've just always loved black and white. That doesn't mean I don't shoot color. And in fact, there are, what are there, Jason? Maybe 2 or 3?
I believe it might be like about 5. There's about
five
one or
photos
two
in color
per wall.
Yeah. And I'm not at all opposed to color. I love color. It's just that black and white is kind of the medium. Black and white photography is kind of the medium that I feel most comfortable with because I was trained on it. And also there's something about black and white that kind of gives you a little bit of a separation from, reality. Like it's more like I'm trying to put it. It's more like a transcription of reality rather than just an actual just representation of it. And I think black and white is it can be absolutely beautiful in ways that color can't, and poetic, and so I've always kind of leaned towards black and white. That's not to say that I don't shoot lots of color, and in fact recently I have been doing a lot of color. But and then there's something about black and white sort of conveying a somber mood. Like I almost feel like my memories of this time will be in black and white. And that's reflected in these photographs. Yeah.
So what do you want people to see, Roderick, when they go to the New Haven Museum and see this? I mean, it's one thing to see it online, right? To scroll through and look at it on Instagram. I mean, we all do it. But it's another thing to sort of stand in a space where, they're hanging there and you can be with the work. What do you want people to know?
Well, just moving back a little bit to what you were saying earlier, one of the things that I really want people to see is just my prints hanging on the wall that are, 12.5 by 12.5 inches rather than on their, 4-inch cell phone screen. And that has its purpose too, because it gets my work out there. But when you actually look at a photograph on a wall, and it's just there and you're regarding it, it's a totally different experience in my mind. But what do I want people to see? I didn't really have any grand design. I mean, it's really just a historical record, and I kind of want people to, if they were living in these times, like use that as something to remember these times with, or if they weren't around New Haven at the time, like, oh, this is what it was like, and I know this place, and that's what it looked like back then, and I mean, I consider myself an artist, and so a lot of them have sort of an artistic intent to them as well. But yeah, maybe not. I mean, definitely not any kind of like underlying, great sort of social commentary or political commentary or anything like that. It's just it's really just a mirror. Yeah. So if Jason, that makes sense.
I'm gonna ask Jason this question because in the press release it talks about these pictures capture where the city is today, and you can see inequality, you can see wealth, you can see loneliness, you can see all the things. And as the curator of this, and not the artist of this, these photos tell a story of who we are and where we are at this particular moment in time.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's definitely that bent there's definitely that intention. And part of the thinking is really, I mean, frankly, it's kind of, if I'd like somebody to take away something from it, aside from, again, Rod's completely right. If you look at the photos in person, I mean, we're installing the show, and I was like, wow, I've been looking at these, pretty closely for months on screens, and in person, it's the real thing always beats the screen. It always does. But going back to the real thing as well, it's when I mentioned things are changing fast. Again, it's this question of like, and it's not just in New Haven; it's nationally, it's globally. Are they changing for the better? Are things actually, where really are we? I mean, so many things are happening. Again, being a student of history, working in it, there's definitely periods in time where a lot happens. This is definitely one of those. I've been calling this era definitely a paradigm shift. I mean, things are there will be a distinct before and after, not just a pandemic. It kind of stems back to at least 5 years ago or so, and even before the last 10 years, you get that kind of feel. And just really stop and ponder, because we're in that process now of like, okay, is this going to work out well? When you go downtown, do you want to do you want to pay $20 for a drink? Do you want a $40 plate of food? Do you want to go to it's awesome that we've got so much great entertainment, but it comes at a luxury cost often. And that's kind of what, you're seeing this luxury change of downtown. And I do mention specifically downtown because I feel, if you look on the outside, the radial periphery of the city, it's a different story. And it's a different story in the opposite direction often. And that's changing rapidly. And that's and New Haven's kind of serves as a bellwether to some degree. There was that thing a few years ago where it was like, the average city in America is reflected in New Haven. To some degree, that's true. And so I feel like there's looking at that, and if you look at, for instance, there's the photo, of a homeless person sitting there against the luxury apartment building that used to be, I believe, an office building. I believe it was the Eli. Right there, you have so many different shifts. You have what was like this office building. Now all of a sudden it's luxury housing. You have someone who clearly can't afford housing sitting there in front of it. It says it right there. Just looking at that photo, it's like, okay, is this the best we can do right now? Are we trying our best? And I'm not trying to. I feel like the intent of the show is not to, beat that into people's skulls. But I feel like
you as a curator, you see it. I mean, you as a curator. I don't know if the artist would see it that way. The artist is, and I don't want to speak for Rod, and I'll ask Roderick. I won't even speak to just what Jason said. When you're taking this picture, do you see the inequity in things do you see the inequity and the juxtaposition of homeless, luxury, and what used to be an office building?
Yeah. So, a couple things. I mean, there are a couple of photos, and one that Jason just mentioned, of this guy in a wheelchair in front of the old SNET building, which is now ultra fancy, $2,000 a month apartments. Well, I'm guessing. I'm just
and more. No, and more.
Is it not? I'm sure it is. Nothing I can afford, but there's that, and then there's one of a guy sitting on the green with the mask kind of half off. For social commentary, I think the ones that you can draw social commentary from, sort of, that's almost by accident, and happy accident. I'm happy to record these things that will, that will cause people to remember. Oh yeah, no, at this particular time, things in New Haven were very strange, and you had all of this obvious, overwhelming amount of obvious wealth. People in beautiful clothes, driving nice cars, living in fancy apartments, with great careers and everything, and at the same time, having people who are obviously at the very margins of society. And I mean, New Haven's been always kind of like that to a certain degree. I mean, it's been a tale of two cities. I feel like recently, that contrast has even become more obvious with the, insane. Well, I guess it is. I think it's kind of insane amount of construction that's going on in the city. You know, we have all of these
and a particular kind of construction.
Yes, right. Well, you know,
Right.
I'm not the biggest fan of the architecture of these buildings, you know, but they're just being thrown kind of willy-nilly all over the place. I mean, I don't know if you've been down by the Worcester and Olive area
Oh,
right
that
now.
freaked me out.
That it looks like its own city. It's like,
Oh, that's what
in-
I thought too. I drove by there and I saw it and I was like, oh my God. Where
yeah.
did this come from?
You know, there's that, and then there's all that stuff down by Audubon Street, and then one of the things that I discovered, simply because I didn't really used to sort of walk over by the hospital area because it's kind of dead, but I did anyway. It was like there's 3 huge new buildings over there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it just goes on and on. I could spend the next 5 minutes thinking about all of the places that have opened up. In fact, just yesterday there was an article in the Independent about this new building. It's right around the corner from me, actually, on House Street, which was never considered a particularly luxurious street. You know, it's kind
And for years and years and years, it was sort of like Skid Row-ish. Right?
It was,
like,
yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
like prostitutes,
it was
drug dealers.
When I first moved to New Haven, it was kind of a little bit like the red light district.
Yeah.
You know, and there was it was rough.
You couldn't get anybody to live over there.
Yeah.
I mean, not anybody of whatever, like,
Yeah, and you know, now I mean, I was reading the apartments range from $1,600 for a studio, which I can't get my head around, to $5,000 for a 4-bedroom apartment.
Yeah.
You know, apparently there are lots of people who can afford all of this stuff, and you know, it's great that people are doing well, but it would be, I guess it'd certainly be nice to see that wealth a little more evenly distributed.
Yes. And it's, you know, I think there's a question to the whole thing. And obviously there's a much larger conversation, but you do see this. It's done with some intent in the show of kind of piecing this together to a degree, but not, again, the full intent. But it's this, again, the idea of, is this better? Is this fun? I don't know. Sometimes. And it may be, again, I found in working on this show too, Rod, it's kind of like, you know, kind of like where we're at in our lives too. You know, I mean, clearly you could say like, okay, well, yeah, I don't go out all the time anyway. I used to do this, used to do that. So maybe I'm just different. Or no, maybe it's all the above. Maybe the whole thing is just, it's not as, you know, again, it's nice, but is it nice? You know, is it fun? You know, like I like New Haven when it was all raw. You know, that's I like that. It's fun.
A little edginess, a little grit, yes.
Yeah, you know, you had a chance to walk out that door and not know what was going to happen, and that's either a good thing or a bad thing, but it's exciting. Now you kind of have that chance, and again, it may be the point in my life. I can't really say that per se, but it's like it just feels like New Haven is just like, if you want here, you go to Providence, you go to Boston, you go to Portland, you go to parts, you know, it's all kind of becoming the same. It's the same sort of store, the same sort of coffee shop, the same sort of venue, the same sort. It's, you know, and again, it's not a, you know, I mean, I go to these places, I enjoy them, you know, when I'm there, but it just has that feeling of just the same. And, you know, it's a hope that maybe, you know, and I still, hope springs eternal. I have that hope that we can kind of like, you know, everybody can have a chance to have a different store. You can afford that. And again, if we have real estate that's just at a certain level and only certain people making that amount of money can live there and operate, that's not going to, you know, allow for the next awesome bookstore, the next awesome club, the next you know, it takes away from the diversity, at least economically, and the chance to get your foot in the door and have this sort of thriving community, if that's the kind of community people want. And I see that we're at that, and again, I mentioned it's like we're at that across the board in the country right now. And I guess really it's kind of like pause, think about that. You know, is this cool? Is this good for you? You know, maybe it is. Maybe that's what people want. I I can't judge what people want at all anymore. Like the last couple of years has taught me, like, I don't know, man. People are into some weird things in this country. Like,
well, this exhibit is up at the New Haven Museum, which is right there on Whitney Avenue, pretty much on the just before you get to Trumbull.
we're right on the Phelps Triangle, right there.
Yes.
Trumbull
Okay. Yes, the Phelps Triangle, and the exhibit is there from now until March 25th, 2022, and I believe you have to make reservations to come to the museum because
currently we're
still happening.
Yes, we're setting a reservation basis, but it's really easy to do. It's online. I believe you can even call us if it's like really hard for you to find online. But I think everyone's really good at online stuff now. That's a thumbs up for COVID. It really got everyone on board with the online thing.
So Roderick, I want you to have the last word about this this exhibit and these photographs, and your thoughts about what this tells us about this moment.
What it tells us about this moment, I think, kind of remains to be seen. I think that what the photographs that I took are really meant just as documents, and maybe with a little bit of artistic intent too. But I hope that they will accurately represent to people, say 10 years from now, 20 years from now, who knows, 50 years from now. Sorry, something just went on in the background. 50 years from now, what things were like in these days. And, so to the extent that I'm able to help people remember this, it's just good. I really hope that everybody gets to go down there and check it out. And by the way, also take a look at the rest of the museum because there's some amazing exhibits down there.
Oh yeah, it's one of my favorite places.
Yeah,
I think it's a cool space.
Yeah, it really is, and it's a New Haven institution, and there's so many cool things that I hadn't really gone through the museum for more than maybe 3 or 4 years, and there's so many cool things that I found there. Like one of the things that I found was Jason, maybe you can help me with this. There's a chair that has a pedal operated fan.
Yeah. Yep.
I think it was from, I don't know, I'm guessing it's from
that's
the
New Haven innovation right there.
Yeah, that's right. I was like that
you know, sweaty trying to stay cool,
It was, to me, that was like either the dumbest thing I've ever seen or an act of total genius.
Right.
Depending on where you sit.
Yeah. No, and there's so much cool stuff down there like that you can see, and my photos are a small part of it. So, I invite everybody to go down there and look at it and enjoy it, and respect and admire this crazy city for what it is.
Thank you. Thank you, Roderick Topping. I can't wait to see this. I'm going to go see it. I can't wait to see it. Thank you, Jason, for joining in and curating this exhibit. This was a wonderful conversation. I appreciate it. And I'm looking forward to seeing the exhibition. Thank you all.
Fantastic.
No, thank you very much.
And say hi to everybody over there at the museum.
I will. Thank you.
Y'all are good folks over there doing that good work. So say hi to everybody. And enjoy the rest of your weekend, gentlemen.
Yes, and you as well.
You as well.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, Harry Droz, that's a wrap for us. So they're going to sign out, and we're going to sign out, and it's all good.
Okay.
Well, before we go, I'm reading a article right now. Oh, it has nothing to do with our guest, so you can sign out.
They can go. Y'all can sign out if you like. Yes.
All right, thank you.
Jason. Shut
up. So I found the perfect spot for you, Babz.
What?
Okay, so a town in Quilpie, Queensland, Australia.
Harry, I'm not going to Australia.
But hold on. They're
Okay,
giving
all right.
away free plots of land just to try to increase their population. Now houses go for 1 point something million there. They're giving free land just to try to entice you to go over there. It does get to be 113 degrees in the summer there. Right? So from the air, the tiny outback town appears to be in the middle of nowhere. It lies on a dusty land the color of rust. Yet, kangaroos chill in the sun on the school lawn, right? So it's perfect. It's also a 10-hour drive away from the nearest city.
Harry, you know damn well that is not going to work for me.
But it's
10
free.
hours, Harry?
10-hour drive from the nearest city.
So is that like the edge of hell? Is that just before you get?
And you're just moving into a desert.
And how much, wait, how much they're giving you though? What's the lure? Just the land?
Well, the land and, the beautiful landscape.
And so I still have to spend my own money to build something to protect me from the elements.
Yes. So, and the elements, over there are like, oof.
Oh, no.
You could get
Jurassic
eaten
Park.
or bitten by anything in
Harry,
that.
they got animals, they got things over there that, no.
Yeah.
But I like this. So, you know what? Keep looking for other things like this. Can you find me something in Italy, though? I'm like,
No.
someplace where I actually want to go.
A nice little plot of land that's the color of rust. So it's a pretty color.
Okay.
In the middle of nowhere.
Yeah. And so I need to bring my own peoples because I need neighbors, right? Like I got to
Yeah.
bring.
Yeah. So,
All right.
but
Okay.
they're getting inquiries from all over the world. They
I'm
were
sure
hoping they were hoping to get a few people interested. They're
Although,
getting
Harry, you might like this.
they're
No
getting
people
hundreds.
around.
Yeah, but
No
113 degrees average
Well, I mean,
summer weather.
you build a house, you put all the fans and air conditioning you want.
Whew.
No, thank you. Keep
How-
looking, though.
How do kangaroos taste?
I don't. Oh, Harry, that is. See, they're gonna listen. Harry Droz,
I know.
care of.
All right, let's get out of here. On that note,
mad.
eating kangaroos.
Don't say it. And I bet you it's a deli. I bet you they are. I bet you. Listen, I don't know.
Who knows, right? They're probably a good burger, right? A kangaroo
Goodbye.
burger. Bye. Thank you for listening to LoveBabz Love Talk on WNHH LP 103.5 FM. Your home for community radio.
I'll see y'all tomorrow. OIC tomorrow. Oh, Greater Haven OIC tomorrow at 10:15. Lord have mercy.